Frustrating, huh?
Howdy folks, Seskinator11 here, and this is my Resident Evil 4 Professional Difficulty No Damage OSP New Game run. We have now reached part 8 of our run currently, and we're starting off with a bang, and going for the Minecart Ride. This section can be pretty tricky if you don't know exactly how to manipulate it effectively, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the shotgun to knock as many people off of the ledge as we can right at the start. And we're going to rinse and repeat for the next part too. See how it kills a bunch of enemies and they don't even leap into the minecarts, giving us any trouble. But folks, like all recorded successful no damage runs, this one is not going to be very clean, kinda like the other runs that you have seen already. My previous videos have showcased this a lot. But look right there, that was beautiful. And that woman just leaps right in front of the minecart, killing herself. And I was able to pick up some more handgun ammo, which was again very lucky, because if you quickly tap square after the enemies have dropped down and have died, you can sometimes pick up the items that they drop, so be very quick to do that. But yeah. The OSP aspect of this makes this a bit challenging, especially since we don't have the striker, but having a shotgun does still work wonders. And I believe there's a chainsaw guy to our left that I was able to knock off, so that worked out very nice. Also, try to get the shotgun ammo that was to my left over there on the ledge, because that would have been very useful. So don't do what I do and get that shotgun ammo. Also, whenever you hit a turn on the minecart, it can be very finicky with the aim, because for whatever reason the physics kind of go to hell. But yeah, I was a bit slow on that part just then, and a lot of people got on the minecart train. But you can always manipulate the 2x4s. I'd kill enemies at the very end, so that was very nice and that worked in our favor. So now we're at 0 shotgun ammo, we weren't able to hit the guys on the ledge, and we have a chainsaw dude right in front of us, which is always great. So now I'm using the iframes of the ledge jump to get to the other side of the train, so that way the chainsaw dude does not get me. And I'm slowly running out of ammo, which is no bueno, folks. So what I'm doing is I continue to leap across. I use that 2x4 to kill the chainsaw guy, because for whatever reason the 2x4 does an insane amount of damage. And now we're a bit surrounded at this point, because we got 2 guys in one of the carts up here, and 3 guys in the cart behind us, and they all have axes. So, and you'll see here that I'm completely out of ammo as well. So you can tell my butt is very clenched at this moment, but luckily we get to the jump and they all die. So that was completely lucky. And I believe on that turn the physics kind of goes to hell, and they're not able to throw the axes at us. At least they throw the axes, but the axe does not hit us. So that was very close. And now I'm completely out of ammo. At least apart from the rocket launcher, and I think I have a magnum round, but I want to save those rounds, obviously. So yeah, now we pick up the Salazar Stone of Sacrifice, because that's the sacrifice that we're going to feed to the lion mouth to allow us to get to the next location in the game. But yeah, folks, as we progress on, as we get to the island, you're going to see a lot of improvisation. And that's necessary for an OSP run. You're going to need to save a ton of ammo. You're going to have to use the environments accordingly and manipulate the enemies. So what I do here is, instead of running past these guys, I just decide to wait up here and knife them. And right now I'm doing this because I'm hoping they drop a little bit more ammo. And hopefully not coins. like that guy just did. But yeah, this is always entertaining watching this, because it's just so simple, and it's a great game mechanic. And in the inevitable RE4 remake, they're definitely not going to make this possible. You're probably going to be able to hit an enemy crawling up the ladder, climbing up the ladder, and it's going to knife them, they're going to take damage, but they're not going to fall off the ladder. They're probably going to keep climbing and then eventually bum rush you. So luckily that guy dropped some handgun ammo, so we're not completely out right now. And there's a little treasure in that well that we came out of. But apart from that, I don't believe there's any more ammo in this area. But yeah, folks, one of the biggest things to do and be mindful of in a run like this is pure acceptance that this run is going to be challenging and you will die a lot. And of course the skill varies for most players. Some players will die in certain areas more than others, because difficulty can be subjective, especially for a challenge run, such as this one. So it's important to take that in mind. Like for instance, when I talked about the bug cave prior to this section, it was one of the worst sections in my opinion in the game, and I hated it. It just wasn't fun. And there were parts that were more challenging than this, but I welcomed that challenge, because the mechanics for that were purely my fault. If I were to fail, it was my fault. The bugs in the cave are so RNGesus at times that they just suck, and it's not fun at all. So now we made it up to the final stretch of the castle area, where we will be activating the mechanical Salazar, doing the QuickTime events towards the final tower, where we fight Salazar's final form, and then you're going to see me finally use the rocket launcher for that boss fight. But the most interesting part of the gameplay, in my opinion, in this section is the elevator. The elevator part leading up to Salazar. And I had a lot of struggle with that area. I had a lot of restarts. And when we get to that section, I'll let you know. Because right now, this section here can be relatively simple compared to the other segments. Because you can manipulate the enemies, you can use the rising and falling of Salazar's mechanical arms as your favor. Because the enemies will follow you, and you can turn that arm off so that way they can't follow you anymore. At least across the gaps. But yeah, be careful of the archers mainly. That's the thing you gotta be most cautious of. So I down that guy, I go up to the hand, I turn around, there's an archer directly in front of me, so either stun him with a shotgun, not a shotgun, but a handgun bullet, and then go for the lever. And look at that just then. That was so freaking close. So I down him, I just jump right off, because I don't want to deal with any of those enemies. And then I immediately go for the ladder, I suplex that guy, and of course always remember to reload whenever possible. And luckily these guys are jumping down, following me down there. So now I have a clear path to get to Salazar's hand, with the exception of the guys leaping from it. But yeah, leap there, quickly jump across, and then activate this lever. Because what that's going to do is that's going to make his one hand stationary that we were just on, and it's going to start moving this one. So now all the enemies on the other side cannot get to us. So now I try to down this dude, I go for the suplex, there's a guy to my left, and that was very close. I had a little bit trouble with aiming just then, and that opens up the path for us. So yeah, I hit this dude once, I go immediately for the quick time. So yeah, this is usually pretty consistent. Sprint, sprint, sprint. and go for the R2, and now it's going for both. And now use your knife really fast to open this door. And then we repeat it again. And look at that just then, the frames kind of died a little bit there, which I thought was very interesting. That was definitely not 60 frames per second. But yeah, and that's the end of that segment. And you'll see that I only have 3 handgun bullets. I have no magnum, I have 1 incendiary grenade, and I have the rocket launcher, which I'm going to save for the Salazar final boss fight. So yeah, this leads us to another very interesting segment. So luckily there's some handgun ammo there. As you can see, I definitely need that. And we make our way up the stairs. I'm not going to be going on a lot of tangents here, folks, because this part is pretty intense. So yeah, I immediately go for the ramps to the left. I hit this guy with the scythe. I go for the suplex. Of course, it doesn't do the head pop, which was very disappointing. But yeah, I'm trying to use as little ammo as possible, but for whatever reason, the way I was hitting those guys didn't put them on their knee. So now we're down to only 3 handgun bullets, so I go for the knife. Again, improvising, because we're just running out of ammo. And the knife is just so OP in this game. I absolutely love it. Like, I want to marry this knife because it just works so well in this game. I ignore that guy to my right, and I immediately go up here, which is actually not a good idea. But for whatever reason, I did. So now I'm going to be bombarded by a shit ton of enemies here. So I suplex that guy. Luckily this dude doesn't hurt me. I hit the barrel, so that way the enemies running up can get demolished. The dynamite guy threw a stick at that guy to my right, so luckily he was killed. Now go for the crates and be quick, because the checkpoint is going to be right here. You're going to see a crossfade. And the reason for that is because the checkpoint is there. And believe it or not, folks, I died a shit ton of times at this part. A shit ton. And look at how lucky that was. That guy didn't hit me for whatever reason. But luckily he goes down, and I think 2 or 3 handgun bullets. 2 handgun bullets. So now this is where it gets intense. This elevator will not move if there's more than 1 guy on it. So you need to be sure to kick them off. Because I have 0 shotgun shells in this moment. All I have is handgun left. That was a beautiful kick right there, and it was very well timed. Go for this dude, he's nicely on the edge. We can get a couple group kicks in there. The elevator's still not moving because there's more than 1 guy on there. I kick him off. There's still 3 guys. This guy is positioned nicely on the edge, but he might not fall off. He did. Great. It's all about kicking people off at this moment, folks. That was beautiful just then. Now the elevator's moving. But of course another guy spawns in. Kick him off. Elevator will move, but then it gets interrupted by 2 more guys. Kick him off. Beautiful. Stops again. See how intense this is? But you gotta get a rhythm here, folks. It's all about getting that rhythm. And sometimes you're just gonna get RNG nonsense. And I've died a shit tons of times in this part. So now I go for the Incendiary Grenade to make short work of those folks on the ground. That should weaken them a bit, especially the guy in the mask. Luckily that dude on the left didn't grab me. Again, I told you, some of this is luck, some of it is skill. I'm completely out of ammo now, which is not bueno. So I go for the knife hit, and he turns into a freaking parasite. But look, we have shotgun shells. 2 shotgun shells, which is all we need. And there's only 1 guy in the elevator, so it keeps going up. We put him down on the ground, and the elevator keeps moving, which is exactly what we want. And this is the last guy, folks. So what I do is I wait, the elevator stops, he's down on the ground so that way he has less chance of grabbing me, and we're home free. No need to kill him. Pretty intense, right? Pretty freaking intense, that part. My heart was pounding, but I loved every second of it. If it was the remake, you'd probably have to do that after an hour of gameplay from the last checkpoint, because 5 saves in one game is absolutely atrocious in my opinion. So I freaking hated that run. But yeah, you pick up some more shotgun shells, which is great. Now I feel a little bit more confident about my life. I've got 5 more handgun bullets. So I pick up the red herb because I want to sell it to the merchant, because why not? I'm also going to sell the 50 TMP ammo, because there's no use for it on this run. And yeah, folks, this is me just making sure that that guy's not catching up with me. Luckily, his pathing is very slow, and now there's no way he can get up to us, because this is the only way up, the elevator. Part of me was worried as well that his head, his parasitic head, would extend through the geometry, but luckily it did not. But yeah, very intense part. So now we get a little bit of breather and we can pick up some more magnum ammo. And along with none of the ammo that's going to help us on this run. But I can always sell it. And I can't remember if I do or if I just ignore it. But we'll see. This is me doing some inventory management. I think I ignore that ammo there, because there's really no point apart from selling it back. So yeah, we're freeing up the inventory space right now. I'm going to sell the first aid spray for a quick 2,500 pesetas. And I've got 10 spinals right there, which is crazy. Can get a healthy amount of cash from that. Not enough cash, stranger. I love this merchant. It's such a shame I couldn't buy anything from him. But alas, this is a challenge run. I'll definitely do a revenge run after this with the hand cannon once I unlock that from the mercenaries mode. Which the hand cannon, going through with the hand cannon after a run like this is definitely rejuvenating. That's for sure. I can't wait to do that. But yeah, folks, what was really interesting is that what released today was the Mafia Trilogy, and they ported it to next-gen consoles, and I think PC as well. And what they did is they're actually going to remake Mafia 1 from the ground up, which is very exciting. And what they did as well is that they remastered Mafia 2. I have never played Mafia 1 or Mafia 2, but I hear Mafia 2 is pretty freaking good. So I'm excited to play that. And I think I might go for the Platinum on Mafia 1 and 2 on PS4. So I may wait for a sale for that, because right now the trilogy costs about $60. But you can buy Mafia 2 Definitive Edition on PS4 right now for, I believe, $30. So it's pretty exciting. And if you're interested in Mafia 3, if you nabbed it on PS Plus like I did for free, I believe you can get all the free DLCs as well, which are currently available on the PS Store. So if you're interested in 100%ing that game for all the achievements, trophies, I would recommend picking it up. Now, Mafia 3 was pretty repetitive, in my opinion. It was very insanely repetitive, but the gunplay is very fun. So if anything, you know, I may just go for it for the 100% and enjoy the gunplay, because all the missions, everything is so repetitive in that game. That was one of the negative aspects about it. It just got old after a while, which is a shame, because the story was pretty interesting. The story was pretty enticing. And yeah, but I hear a lot of good things about Mafia 2, and not so much about Mafia 1, but I'm very interested in playing both of those games. So, yeah, folks. But yeah, as you can see here, we made short work of Salazar with the rocket launcher. We did a couple magnum shots to his one eye to open him up, and then we just shot the rocket launcher down into him. And what's hilarious about this, folks, is I remember distinctly that boss on my first playthrough and how much trouble I had with it. And the fact that you can just take a rocket launcher to his face and destroy him is absolutely hilarious. Because I remember, again, I'm talking about my good friend Omni Griffin. He has his own YouTube channel, and his YouTube name is Omni Griffin. And in high school, I believe it was the summer before our sophomore year or after our sophomore year, I brought my PS2 to his house, and we were playing in his basement this game, and I was struggling hardcore on the Salazar boss fight, and it probably took me about like an hour tops to finally beat him, because if you remember that boss and doing it, let's say, legitimately, it's a challenge, dude. It's a freaking challenge, because he keeps spawning those mosquito parasites, the spider ones that leap at your face and try to kill you. So what I was doing is, because I was a pansy, I would go into the back corner of the room and I would sort of try to damage him from there, because as an early gamer like I was in high school, I didn't know much about games, and I kind of treated them like they were real life. I pretended like, I was Leon, I pretended I was a secret agent, and I didn't really see the game as a game back then. I saw it as purely a cinematic experience and would play for the story. But then I slowly grew to love RE4, and then I played the shit out of it back in the day. And on the PS2 version, I completed everything. I got the hand cannon from the mercenaries. I completed Ada's stories, Separate Ways, and Assignment Ada. I collected all the extra costumes, got all the bottle caps. I literally got everything, 100%. On that game on my PS2 save, and I think I'm going to do the same for this version as well, because it's 60 frames per second and I'm loving it. So yeah, I'm going to definitely continue the mercenaries on a stream later on when I do have time, because things are a bit busy now, and plus I'll be making my new PC this weekend, hopefully. Because all things look good right now for my motherboard to be shipped tomorrow, which is Thursday. So we'll see how this goes, folks. I'm very excited for it. But yeah, you'll see here that I'm very close to the 1,000,000 pesetas, and we're about at 900K right now. The other thing that I was seeing they were going to remaster too, or actually no, not remaster, but remake, is the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games 1 and 2, which were the best games in the series in my opinion. And I absolutely adored Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1. I remember when there was, on the full game, just the soundtrack was freaking amazing, like the Superman song in the warehouse, so great. And I kind of want to go back to that game when it does release on PS4. And I might either play it on PS4, or if it's coming on PC, I'll get it on PC. Because playing those games again and going for the scores, going for the hidden tapes, and all that wonderful stuff, I love that. It was so much fun. But yeah, they're doing a lot of stuff, but, still there's no remaster of Max Payne 3 for the PS4, or a remaster of Max Payne 2. I would love if they remastered those games, because I know they did the first game to PS4. And, what about the Dead Space remasters? When are we going to get that? Or more importantly, Resistance. Gosh, I would be so happy if they remastered Resistance. I would go for and if they added trophy support for the first game, because the first game didn't have any trophies, only the second and the third did. Because I know for PS3, they didn't implement trophies until much later, because Sony wanted to compete with Microsoft and, implement those. But yeah, folks, it's insane what they're doing these days. But, everything's becoming a remaster or a remake, because devs are running out of ideas, which I don't blame them. I mean, what more can we do with games these days? Other than repetition, but You know, the games that actually do try new things, they deserve props, even if the game completely fails. Because again, they went out of the norm, they went out of the box, they thought outside of the box, and they, you know, they're trying something different. Which props to them. But yeah, that's part of the other reason why I'm going to PC, is just so I can have access to all these classic games. So what you're going to see here, folks, is I'm going to try to align these two mirrors, and I try to get it in one attempt. And this is probably my 10th or 15th attempt doing this, because I kept getting hit by the machine gun dude. So, yeah, this part can be tricky. But what I'm doing here is I'm waiting up here for the machine gun dude to hop up along with another guy, and I'm going to stun him with the flash grenade. And then I'm going to run right off and go for the other mirror. Because if you're not familiar, folks, there's a laser that shoots out of one side of the door up there, and it's going to hit the mirror, and you have to bounce it back to the other side to open the door. And it can be kind of tricky, but I can understand why speedrunners skip this entire part. But again, I'm not going for any of those glitches. I'm trying to do the run legitimately. You know, despite the impressiveness of these glitches. And you can see there that the laser was just, it was so close to it. So close, but no cigar. So we have to go back to that mirror and align it accordingly. So what I do is I put on the Magnum, I stun this dude, which I could have probably done with a shotgun now that I think about it, but oh well. And now I align this to open up the door. And what I'm worried about right now is this dude is trying to aim at me and hit me through the geometry, and sometimes that happens, but not all the time. But yeah, folks, the island is very difficult in terms of this OSP run. It was probably the most challenge I've had, because your guns do jack crap damage to these enemies. So it's basically just a matter of getting through it and running past them. And what was interesting there, if you remember, if you kill all the enemies in that section, there's supposed to be a boulder triggering event, but I guess it didn't happen because I didn't kill all the enemies. Which I'm wondering why that was. And it might be because if enemies were following you through that area, they didn't want the boulder to kill them, but I don't know. It's very interesting. But yeah, look at these guys, they're freaking tanks. Like, I did like 2 suplexes to them, and then finally they die. But yeah. Keep that in mind, folks, when you're doing a run like this. The island is going to be the hardest section, and I found it to be the section that I ran out of the most ammo. But luckily, once you get past U3, you don't really need to worry about ammo in terms of bosses, because after U3, you can kill Krauser with just the knife. And I love the fact that you're able to just kill him with with the knife and nothing else. And you'll see that on this run. Which I believe the Krauser boss battle will be in the final video of this run. So, you know, look forward to that. And yeah. By the way, that was me trying to hit the searchlight up there, because I thought that searchlight would trigger an alert to spawn in more enemies. But it turns out that you can't exactly fire at it with a handgun. Maybe you can, and maybe I'm wrong. But to my understanding, I think you can do it with a rifle. But yeah. But yeah, what you're going to see me do now is I'm going to manipulate the checkpoint. And I'm going to move on forward. And I know there's an enemy there because I can hear the electricity blaring on his stun rod, on his cattle prod. Which I love how they they allowed you to use a cattle prod in the 5th game when playing as Chris or Sheva. That was definitely a fun part about number 5. But yeah, folks, next-gen consoles are coming out. And I absolutely love that. See, the knife is so OP. Look what I did just then. I just had to slash him, and then he fell to his death. And that was it. It's so entertaining. At this point, I don't even know if they're saying a language right now. If they're speaking Spanish, or... I don't know. They might be so deformed from being on this terrible island that they can't speak. And then one of the enemies in this game, and call me, ignorant, call me unable to hear. And that was number 2. I'm glad I was able to capture that in this run, because that's so freaking entertaining. Seeing that guy fly down. And I used no ammo at that point. None whatsoever. So yeah, I'm just searching around, looking for more ammo. Unfortunately, I find an herb just then, and I don't think there's anything more in this room, so there's no need to waste a bullet on that barrel. But I go anyways, and I think you just pick up one of those treasures like the cat. And if you find the 3 parts that go into the cat head, it becomes even more expensive to sell, netting you a bunch more pesetas. But yeah, I'm just kind of looking around, making sure I didn't miss anything. Again, this is not a speed run, so I'm taking my time, being very careful. I manipulate checkpoint one more time, so that way if I die, I don't have to go all the way back there. And I believe this is the next moment where... Yeah, I'm trying to fire at this light again, but for whatever reason I can't get the reticle to pop up, so... You might be able to do it with the rifle. But yeah, that was a major fail just then. And I don't know what I'm doing just now. I think because I know there's a rocket launcher dude over there, I don't want to be discovered by him. Oh, and there's a crossbow guy over there as well. So again, be very careful. And yeah, folks, which leads me to my next tangent on Ghost of Tsushima, which is coming out. Which is a game that doesn't seem to be doing anything differently. And what I mean by that is, it kind of looks like an Assassin's Creed open world game that we all know and are very familiar with, and yet people are buttering it up because it's going to be released on PS5 as well, and next-gen consoles. And I don't know, I watched footage of that game, and then apparently it's supposed to be on PS4 and then later PS5, or so the rumors had it. I could be getting my information wrong, but it's supposed to be releasing in July, and I thought this was the early stages of development and it wasn't going to release for another few months. So you can imagine my frustration with that. I thought it was like a very bare bones demo, but it didn't showcase anything different. And that's what makes me kind of upset. Because going along my point earlier on in this video is, it's nice to see games try something new, even if it does fail miserably. You know, because it's new. It's a new mechanic. It's something we haven't seen before. And it gets much more difficult to do that as the years go on, but still, people should get props for trying something new. So yeah, I go for the headshot. Watch out for that dynamite that goes flying over here. But I keep running. The dynamite should kill those 2 guys. Then there's another guy standing up here, so be very careful. And luckily he was doing a sideways dodge. And the explosive barrel damaged these guys significantly, but you can tell that they take a shit ton of damage because I used an explosive barrel on these guys and they did not die in one hit. So now what I do is I'm going back over here. I'm going to use the wagon, the same wagon that was in front of the church after we rescued Ashley, and I do what I can to thin out the crowd at the bottom. And then I drop down and I go for the door. Yeah, and unlike the door at the bottom, which was much more complicated, this one you merely just press a button and it opens. How kind of Capcom, right? But yeah, what you're going to see here is, you probably heard a ton of enemies chasing after me, but since I go for the save and I died, I reloaded the checkpoint and it left me here, and the enemies weren't behind me anymore. And you can see me checking over to make sure they're not there. So now I try to hit up the crossbow guy. And then I go for the flash grenade again, so that way I can just run past these guys and go through the door. You could have probably done that a better way, but I decided to use a flash. Thinking about it now, I could have probably shotgunned them to the ground and then ran past them, but it's still a successful run, so learn from my mistakes, do better than me, and you'll be fine. So now this next area leads us to the kitchen, which has the wonderful jump scare that made me nearly shit my pants the first time I played this game. Because again, the way the game was paced, you know, now things are slowing down a bit, it kind of gets a little bit calmer. You know, because whenever you enter a new location in this game, for whatever reason, they throw you in a gauntlet, or they throw, you know, a pretty big challenge at you. You know, with the village, you had the chainsaw guy and all the villagers coming after you. The castle had the catapults and you having to navigate with Ashley around the environment. And now the island had basically two gauntlets, with one guy with a machine gun and the other guy and the other people with dynamite and a rocket launcher. So it's pretty intense. So what you saw just then is I used the Seraphim 17 technique, where I backed up and immediately when I heard the guy coming out of the oven, I ran away and then he died. Do not touch that man when he's still burning though, and be sure to pick up that grenade from the sink because that's very useful. But yeah, we continue to press on. There's an archer at the bottom there, so be very careful. He damaged me when I walked through here. And now we meet our very first ginormous axe dude encounter. They're probably one of the most aggressive guys in the game, and they have armor on them, so you can't use your knife on all parts of them, which is kind of annoying. But the shotgun usually does wonders, even with an unupgraded shotgun, because sometimes you can get a cheeky headshot off of them. But yeah, I'm trying to soften them up with the knife, and look at how close that bolt was to my face. That crossbow bolt. And that guy's still trying to fire at me, and he broke the window to my right. But yeah, you're gonna hear Ashley continuing to yell, "Leon! Help me, Leon!" Which is so freaking annoying, but we have to deal with it. It's so annoying hearing that, but such is life. Such is the life, the mechanics of this game. But yeah, look at how many handgun bullets it takes now to kill enemies. Look at that! I probably used about 15 bullets just then. Maybe even 20. And he's still freaking alive. Look at that! 20 bullets and he's still alive. 21. There you go. It takes 21 unupgraded handgun bullets with a base handgun to kill these guys. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's nearly a a half of a full pack of ammo, because you can carry 50 handgun bullets in one slot at a time. Absolutely ridiculous. But now you know, folks, why I keep running out of ammo so fast in the, and why I'm going to in the island sections of the game. But yeah, people have told me that the island is probably the weakest part of the game. And going through this run now, I definitely agree with them. Because the castle had a lot of cool moments, you know, a lot of cool puzzles and sections that were very well thought out. They even had, you know, a different section with Ashley where you play as her. And, you know, the water room is very intricate. It has a lot of different challenges in there where you have to make the platforms rise and cover Ashley. You know, the castle also had different moments where, you know, you fought Salazar's right-hand man. There was the puzzle with the wooden beams and the gears. You know, the knights that you fight that were possessed. There was a whole ton of features with the castle. And then the island just throws enemies at you, practically. So I can understand why it's one of the weaker parts of the game. And especially with an OSP run, it sucks. Because you run out of ammo so fast. But yeah, folks, we're pressing on. And that's the worst just there. Getting 2 herbs in the crates when I really want ammo. Because right now I only have 9 bullets in the handgun, and I've got a ton of shotgun ammo, luckily. But I would prefer to use more handgun than I do shotgun. But, whatever. There's another pack in front of me, which is good. Yeah, this is me checking the corners, making sure there's no enemies around. And yeah, spoiler alert, Ashley's just on a screen yelling. But we know where she is now. So we're gonna make our way that way. And yeah, folks, probably one of the coolest parts of the island, and the most unforgettable parts, are the regenerator parts. Because those enemies terrified me during my first playthrough of this game. It was absolutely insane. And I was talking with my friend again, Omni Griffin, and when he was playing this game, we were just talking about the regenerators and how freaking freaky they were. Especially the noise they make. You know, that breathing noise. That's like... You know, it's just like... Oh, it's so crazy. But yeah, it's... My friend would tell me that... Imagine you lying in your bed at night. It's absolutely silent. And the minute you hear that breathing... He's like, my pants would be insta-shat at that moment. Just insta-shat. There's no question about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. If I heard that noise in the middle of the night while I was laying in bed and everything, and I was alone, there's no question about it. And I'd be like, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here, and I'm gonna go to, you know, my friend's house and stay there for the night, because there's no way I'm being alone. Or I'd be like, Mom, Dad, I'm sleeping on the floor in your bedroom now. Which is something I actually did. Back when I first watched The Ring, I got terrified of that movie, and for the 7 days after, you know, I watched that movie, because, you know, after 7 days of watching, after seeing the tape, if you survive, you're pretty much good, according to the movie. But yeah, I stayed in my parents' room the entire time during those 7 days, because I didn't want frickin' what's-her-face with the long hair to come out of the TV and kill me. But yeah, it's crazy they made a sequel to that movie too. And the sequel is absolutely terrible. It was so bad. So I don't recommend it. Only watch the original. But yeah, folks, Shinji Mikami, for whatever reason, has a love for garage doors. Because This feature was also used in The Evil Within, if you remember. The feature in the city area, I believe it was Chapter 11, the gauntlet inside the garage, where there would be either enemies with different weapons, enemies with machine guns. The machine gun section was the worst because throwing a grenade at them was so finicky, and it was so difficult to align it properly. But yeah, Shinji Mikami just loves his garage doors, and the features like this in a game. So this part can be really tricky, especially since you don't have upgraded weapons. But if you time the dynamite throws properly, and that's what sucks right there, is when they get crossbows. 3 guys with crossbows? What the hell? You know? It's terrible, dude. But yeah, I did get damaged once. I'm happy to say this was only a second attempt, I believe. So, it's not as difficult as the garage door in Evil Within. So, you'll do just fine. Even if you don't have as much power in your guns as I do. But yeah. This is me losing patience, and now I'm gonna put on a grenade. Look at how close that bolt was to my face. But yeah, I think now I'm going to try to soften them up with a handgun. But they just take a beating, folks. Everything on the island just takes a beating. And look at that, I believe, yeah, there's only one more left. So I get up, but of course the garage door closes, and I'm waiting here, waiting for the guy to open it up again. But it's actually a detection thing. You have to be away from it in order for it to open, which is crazy. But see, look at that, now it's open. The dude starts firing at me, and then the garage closes again. It's just one of the most interesting features of the game. But now he's finally dead, because even with the long range of this shotgun, it still does pretty decent damage. And I believe with the extra upgrade of the gun, it allows you to increase the range of it. Of course, I didn't do that for this run, but you know, it's one of those things that you can upgrade, and I think it's pretty cool. But the Striker by far is one of the most powerful guns. And I definitely want to get that shotgun again, because I do miss it. But yeah, now he's dead. And of course, unfortunately, we pick up more TMP ammo, which is a shame. And we press onwards. And now I believe this is going to be the first encounter with the Regenerators after we hit a save point. This is me checking my map, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the part. For whatever reason I unlocked that door even though it really does nothing, and you don't have to go back to that area at all. But yeah. I drop a save, and we get to embark on our Regenerator run. So I'm going to say a little bit about the Regenerators. So if you are able to down them onto their stomach, there is a way to be able to stun lock them with the knife by slashing them from behind, especially ones that don't have the spikes. But there's also a way to stand behind the ones with spikes to be sure that the spikes don't hit you. I was not able to do this tech at all during my run, which I'm very upset about, but either my guns fired too slowly, which I think is probably the case, because the rate of fire on the shotgun is so slow on the base shotgun that I wasn't able to, you know, hit their leg off with one blast and run behind them to slash them to death. So whenever I did that, he would always be able to turn around and leap onto me. So I'm wondering if that's what the issue was. But again, folks, I didn't stick around long enough to test it out, because I just wanted to get through it. I wanted to survive and complete the no damage run. But perhaps later on, if I try with the striker, I'll see if that works. But yeah, with this first regenerator, you can simply run past him, and he won't pose much of a threat. It's the others that you have to worry about. But you'll see what I do here is I pick up the shotgun, I hit him down with the leg, and then I immediately run past him. So keep running, don't stop, and make it to the freezer. And because we're not picking up the scope, since we don't even have a rifle to put it on, the enemy, the regenerator in this room, does not spawn. So this room is actually one of the safest rooms in the game now, because it doesn't start moving when you use the card reader, which is very nice. So yeah, folks, now we have the waste disposal key, and we're able to move on forward. This is me just doing a last minute check to see if there's any more ammo that I could pick up. But there's nothing, and there's no way I'm going to pick up the scope for the rifle, because there's really no point. So now there's going to be a wonderful regenerator to our right. And unfortunately there's only rifle ammo in there, which is useless for me. So now I down him, I immediately run past him, and don't look back, because those enemies terrify me to no end. So now, folks, I believe we've reached the area where Ashley is being held. Actually, I'm sorry. My mind is has mistaken me. So I believe no, this is the part where you get to play the Kradin Machine, which is a very charming section of the game, I must say. So if you line the shadow perfectly with the enemies, you're going to see that you can pick up these two at once, which help you save a considerate amount of ammo. And then I go for the archer guy next, because we don't want him causing us any trouble. Remember to align the shadow perfectly so it is cast over the guy completely, and that'll ensure a perfect pickup with the crane. But yeah, I love little features like this that, you know, games throw in, and it's such a shame that games nowadays don't do anything like this. I mean, this is why we play games, folks. We play them for the gameplay. We play them because they're charming like this. And I know everybody has their own reasons for doing it, and some people might have their reasons be just for the story, for the cinematic experience. But I just don't agree with that. Yes, when I was a kid, I used to play games for the story mainly, but I would continue to play them and continue to enjoy it. And enjoy the features, enjoy the mechanics of what it had to offer. And it was great. So now we're running up the stairs. And this wonderful room right here is going to cause us a lot of issues later on. You know, it took me a lot of attempts to get through this room again with Ashley, so I recommend you save this flash grenade for that room. But unfortunately, I think I used the flash grenade for enemies earlier on. And I can't remember where exactly, but I do know that I don't use the flash grenade for enemies in that control room. What you need to use the flash grenade for is for that whole horde of enemies in the lava pit room, and that's probably the most ideal place to use it. And that will allow you to have Ashley control the crank, and you can cover her while she does it. But yeah, that'll be in the next video. But yeah, even though Ashley still clearly sees us, she's still pounding on the door like she can't see us, which is so hilarious. Yeah. There's a wonderful head pop from the shotgun. Again, base shotgun, not upgraded. Was still able to do that, which I really like. A very balanced game indeed. So now we don't have the key card to get into there where Ashley is. Instead, we have to pick it up off of a Regenerator, which we have to kill. And that'll be in the next video. So what I'm going to do here to get past these enemies is I'm going to kick this one. Wait for his friend to show up and kick him. Luckily I didn't get hit by the crossbow guy just then, because that was absolutely lucky. Now I go for the kick. Luckily I didn't get hit by the mace from that other guy. Or that guy to my right. So close. And I go immediately for the save point to drop a save for the checkpoint. And that concludes this part of the video. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you hopefully in the next one. You all, take care now.